Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is Explore Yourselves, Banking, and General Knowledge, etc. Memoir of my banking journey by Mr. V.H. Ramakrishnan, retired General Manager of Bank of India. Episode number 22. The chapter Kenyan Safari is continuing. The link of earlier episodes is available in description. Quick gestures of Mr. Lindy. As mentioned in the last chapter, we spent the morning at Benegal's place. It is interesting to note that though Benegal and I were working in the same building at Madras for more than 5 years, our families had never met. It was in Nairobi that we became family friends and we still continue to be. Benegals were great hosts. Both husband and wife were very strong in spoken English and were experts in solving crossword puzzles. More about them later. After lunch, Benegal took me to the branch, which was once the government assembly. The branch is still at the same place, a heritage building in prominent Kenyatta Avenue. Mr. Limty received me very well. He told me that for the next 3 or 4 days I should only focus on settling down, get school admissions for the children, and buy all necessary household items. He advised me that I should take it easy and could start working after I was fully settled. I wish all our chief executives overseas treat the newcomers in a similar manner. Mr. Limdy also told Mania to introduce me to all the staff members at the branch. I went around and shook hands with everyone. The way in which the staff greeted me, many saying Jumbo, was really heartening. I could not visualize at that time the love and affections they were going to shower on me during my tenure. The setup. Those days at bank, the bank normally used to post a Gujarati officer as manager. This was because the majority of our customers were of Gujarati origin. That was how Mr. Limdi was heading the Kenya branches. At that time, he was also the manager of Nairobi branch. His next in command accountant was Mr. V.D. Majumdar, who also hailed from Gujarat, a perfect gentleman banker. He would always remain calm with a smile under all circumstances, very systematic in his work. He was also a great singer. He was quite senior to me. Unfortunately, he missed his promotions and was DGM, Computers Department, and had to report to me when I was the general manager. It was very embarrassing for me, but I treated him with full respect. Rohit Maniar was another Gujarati officer. He had come to Nairobi after a stint in UP. Very jovial and great party man. Excellent PRO. From Kenya, he managed to get a green card and moved over to US. He also became the president of Indian Chamber of Commerce in Chicago. I am still in touch with him. Mr. B.N. Saigal was in the office of Mr. Lindy taking care of the Mombasa branch matters. I had written about Saigal in my Delhi Chalo series, and of course, Benegal was the last arrival before me. There were also two officers of Indian origin. One was Mr. Trivedi, an elderly gentleman, and Mr. Soni, a young man. Trivedi was very well known to all the customers, very honest and trustworthy. He had a window facing the road. Sometimes customers would give him cash through the window for depositing in their account. First impression of Nairobi. Benegal took me first to a supermarket called Ibrahim's, walking distance from the branch. All odd items we needed was there. Then we went to his house and with my family went to Westland supermarket. I had never seen such supermarkets in Chennai. Even Nilgiri's supermarket came up later. We bought all urgent groceries. Benegal had a nice second-hand car. I think it was a Mazda. Car was a must for an expatriate officer. Another thing which amused me was the silent movement of cars. No one was using the horn. Beautiful, smooth roads, well regulated traffic, drivers following the rules. All these things were now new to me. In Chennai, I had seen only Fiat and Ambassador cars. Once in a while, we used to see Plymouth cars of film stars. It was fun to watch different makers of cars, mostly Japanese, on the roads. It looked as if they were sliding down the road. Our chief executive had a BMW. Nairobi was a hill station. It was about 5,800 feet above sea level. I also noticed that there are no fans in the house. If you open the window, you would feel as if you are in an air-conditioned room, even during summer. More about Nairobi in due course. With bags full of goodies, we returned to Benegal's house for dinner and reached home late in the evening. School admission. On the second day morning, Benegal took me to his house for primary school for getting admissions for my son. The academic year in Kenya was from January to December. There will be about a month's holiday after every 3 months. In fact, it was convenient for the expatriates working in one office to plan and take home leave. The headmaster was a Kenyan, Mr. Emoangi. Benegal told me that he was a tough guy, a stickler to the rules. Mr. Emoangi told me that there was only one vacancy in the fifth grade, who were in the middle of an academic year, and that he had another two candidates who had applied. He said my son should write a test along with the other two candidates. One was a Gujarati boy, and that whoever got the highest marks would be selected. He asked me to come next day morning with my son. I told Benigal that I would come late to the office, but the problem was how I would come to the office. I had no idea when the test would be over. Benigal suggested the following course of action. I should stand on the footpath and show my right hand thumb whenever a car was passing. He said there would be many Indians passing through. Anyone would give a lift. I was not comfortable with the suggestion, but I had no alternative. Anyway, the test was over by about 10. The headmaster asked me to come after an hour. My house was only 15 minutes walk from the school. I went to him after an hour. He told me that my son got the highest mark and would be admitted. The father of the Gujarati boy was protesting. Mr. Emongi showed him the answer papers of all the three candidates and said he was going by the rule book. With the admission problem over, I came to the road and with a lot of hesitation showed the sign for a leave. I was feeling very shy. No one stopped the car. I was about to give up. Then a big car came and the gentleman, an Indian, stopped the car. I told him that I wanted to a leave to Bank of India. He said he was going that side only and gave me a leave. He also happened to be a customer of our bank. Dinners and horror stories. For the first 1 week, the expatriate officers invited us one by one for dinner. All the expatriate officers were present every night. The idea was that the wife of a new officer should not spend her time in cooking, but should get time to settle down. Secondly, those get together provided their families to get to know each other. 2 days before our arrival, there was an unfortunate incident. Dr. Mustafa was a doctor of Indian origin. The entire family of about 9 members was shot at close range, reportedly by robbers. Somehow the only survivor was Dr. Mustafa. This was the headline news and talking point in all dinner. In each dinner, we had to listen to more and more such incidents of robbery, kidnapping, and murders which had happened in the past. My colleagues also listed all precautions we had to take in our day-to-day life. A few were: do not go for a walk after sunset. Even if you have to go to a neighboring compound, go in a car. Do not wear any jewels, including Mangalsutra. The robbers know that the Indian women wear Mangalsutra in a gold chain. Snatching chain is very common. Never resist when a thief demands your watch or jewelry. After listening to all the above, my spirits went down. I thought I had come to the wrong place. One morning I went to Mr. Saigal. His term was to expire in about 6 months. I told him, you are very lucky. You will be able to go back to India shortly. I do not know how I am going to stay here for 4 years. I feel like going away now itself. Mr. Saigal replied, Are yaar, it is not like that. You will love this place. It is a good country. You will know how to get adjusted to this life. And at the end of your term, you would not feel like going back. Later I realized how true his words were. Tell peace. One evening before sunset, I was walking on the road where my house was situated. A Kenyan was walking towards me from the opposite direction. He looked at me and asked me something in Swahili. I did not understand. He then showed his wrist. I thought he was a robber asking for my watch. I immediately removed it. He laughed and told me, Bana, I wanted to know the time. I smiled sheepishly and told him the time. Work environment. I feel it is better to give a description of the work environment at the branch. Our morning hours were from 8:30 to 4:30. Banking hours were from 9 to 1. Later on, the banking hours of all the banks were increased in a direction from the president. We used to reach the office by about 8:15. I used to find everyone in his or her seat reading the new morning paper, which used to be in a tabloid form. They would greet you warmly and continue to read. At the stroke of 8:30, everyone would close the paper and take out the files from the cupboard and start working quietly. No chit chat. The whole office used to be like a school after the second bell. When I reported, I was asked to sit in advanced development. What had happened was Mr. Lindy was able to get an additional work permit. Benegal's arrival coincided with the departure of Mr. Doctor, who was in charge of advances. So Mr. Lindy asked Benegal to occupy Doctor's seats. He told me also to sit in advanced development and to take care of some expressway accounts and review proposals. He indicated it may be a temporary arrangement. The advances department was in a separate hall. It consists of one supervisor, three clerks, and one typist. I remember the names of clerks Mukiti, Barnard, and Kamadi. The first two were very efficient. Kamadi, though not as brilliant as his colleagues, was sincere and hardworking. Miss Umik Noor was the typist. In my entire tenure, I had never seen her chit-chatting during office hours. Within 2 weeks, Mr. Limdi received a letter from head office asking him to confirm that I have been put in charge of advanced development. So Mr. Limdi told me to take charge of the department from Benegal and asked him to occupy my seat. I felt a little bad. Mr. Benegal did not show any emotions and took it as part of the game. I knew how embarrassing it would have been for him. However, after a couple of months, he was given a different assignment. I noticed that the clerks used to keep diary notes and all proposals should be reviewed exactly after 1 year. They would even write the manager's opinion and keep the draft for your approval. I observed during my first full day that exactly at 1 p.m. Benegal was putting all the files inside his table drawer. Even all the clerks kept the files inside the cupboard. Main door was closed. Within minutes the bank was empty except for the expedite officers. We sat around one table and had 1 hour lunch which we had brought from home. The cleaners moved in and started cleaning the premises and tabletops, etc. This was the second cleaning apart from the one they did around 7 a.m. By 1:15 we moved out and went around as a group for a walk. You can call it window shopping. By 2 p.m. we were back. The office was very clean and tidy. Again we brought out our papers and started our work. This was the routine every day. Later on when we had to do banking till 3 p.m. or so we took our lunch hour by turn. Benegal and Mujumdar used to have their lunch at 12 noon, Maniar and I at 1 p.m. We continued our post-lunch work. I really enjoyed my outings with Maniar. After Maniar left this place, practice was discontinued. Commuting to office, I was indeed lucky to have friendly and helpful colleagues who helped me in settling down comfortably. I could not go in for a car immediately since I did not have enough margin money. I calculated that it would take at least 2 or 3 months to buy a car. Cycle was staying close to me, just took me away. We worked out an arrangement. I would walk to the school to drop my son and then wait on the roadside. Cycle would come to pick me up. This worked out very well. Servant problem. We are hesitant to employ an African servant. Initially, we thought we would manage ourselves. But a new problem cropped up. My first floor neighbor told us that the landing on the first floor in the staircase should be cleaned daily, alternatively by the two tenants. We tried for a couple of days but gave it up and decided to employ a servant. Benegal told me that the servants are good. He jovially told me that they clean and wipe so well that all his spoons were bent within a week. In India, a servant would do work in 2 or 3 houses. But in Kenya, one servant will not do work in more than one house. They would do all the work except cooking. In Nigeria, they used to cook also. So finally, we employed a servant. That day, the house looked spick and span. We are very happy. First shock. I had just completed 3 weeks. One fine morning around 11 a.m., Jackson, the head peon, came to me and told me that I have a call from India at the chief executive room. I rushed there. My brother-in-law, wife's brother, was on the line. He informed me that my father has to undergo a major surgery urgently and that my presence was a must. There was absolutely no indications of this when I left India. This unfortunate development took place subsequently. I told my brother-in-law that I would catch the earliest flight to Chennai. Now I had two problems. Besides the worry about my father's health, one, I had no money to buy a ticket. Second, I had to leave my wife and children in a new country for 2 or 3 weeks. I informed Mr. Limby, who was listening to my conversations about my going to India. He readily permitted me to go. He told me that he would talk to Air India to get me the ticket. He immediately called the regional director of Air India for Africa, Mr. Ramachandran, who had his headquarters in Nairobi, and spoke to him. The regional director said he would release a seat from his quota and also extended a credit facility for 60 days for me to pay. Little did I know that I would be helping Air India in a big way from Lagos and thus reciprocate the gesture shown by them. We came home and broke the news to my family. Then Benegals came home and assured me that I should not worry about my family and that they would take care of them. I later learned that in my absence, not only Benegals, but all the other colleagues were making offers of help to my family. Mr. Limby asked Mr. Benegal to once again take charge of advanced government. That seat became like a musical chair. Next morning, Mr. Saigal dropped me at the airport. It was not a direct flight, so I reached Mumbai in the evening, stayed overnight, and took the morning flight to Chennai. Met my parents. The operation was fixed for the next day. It was a major surgery. The surgery was successful. My father had to be in the hospital for about 10 days. I was with him 24 by 7. He recovered. I had a meeting with the famous surgeon, Dr. Sundararaman, who performed the surgery. He was a jovial type. I asked him about the survival chances of my father and told him about my posting abroad. He told me that he would guarantee minimum 10 more years of life for my father. In fact, he lived for about 18 years after the surgery. He said I should proceed to Nairobi without any anxiety. My parents also assured me that they would manage on their own and told me to get back to my work. So after about 20 days, I returned back to Nairobi. My return journey, I was brooding over things. Suddenly, I started wondering whether this was the reason the Brahmacharya tried to advise me to stay in India. Back in Nairobi, once again we relieved Mr. Benegal. Our routine life started. I decided that my purchase of a car had to be postponed as I should first clear the dues of to India, Air India. In those days, our salaries were not that high. There were no high power committee to decide the salary scales of officers working abroad. The back of the envelope working was like this: one third you spend, one third you pay as taxes, and remaining one third you save and remit to India. The ceiling on home remittance was fixed by the government as one third of the salary. The one third which I could remit worked out to rupees 2,800. This was better than what you could save in India, but I did not remit any money due to the liability. In about 2 months, I cleared the Air India dues. Then I started building up my margin money for the car. Lesson I learned: be ready to face the twists and turns in life. Tell peace. After a month, I realized that I needed a haircut. My friend told me that it is expensive to go for a haircut in a salon run by Gujarati. He suggested that I should buy a trimmer. If you use the trimmer like a comb, it would remove the hair. I also overheard in a dinner at a South Indian gathering two persons discussing about having a haircut. I asked them where they would be going. They said we do it for each other with trimmer. Encouraged by all this, I bought a trimmer and tried. I was not at all happy. It was almost a disaster. I decided to go the barber shop and had a good haircut at a high cost. It was worth it. In Nigeria, there were no Indian barbers. I used to go to five-star hotels for a haircut by Nigerian. That reminds me an incident. Late Mr. Narsibai Shah Endisa was one of our old and valuable customers in Kenya. He was a very generous person. He had a barber who regularly serviced him for more than 30 years. One day Narsibai called him, gave him a return ticket to go to London and enough dollars for a holiday in London for a week. More about Mr. Shah later. Kenyan economy. A brief introduction about Kenyan economy may help you to appreciate the narration. Kenya depended on two sources of export earnings, coffee and tourism. I was told that a few years before I landed there was a boom in coffee exports which made many very rich. The disparity between rich and poor grew wider. When I landed, the exports were down due to food crops in Brazil, largest exporter of coffee. The economy was not in good shape. Anyone whom I met during my first few weeks used to look at me up and down and then say, "You have come at the wrong time." When I left after 4 years, all of them said, "You are leaving at the right time." Things have become very bad there. I loved Kenyan coffee. As long as I was in international environment, I made it mandatory for my colleagues to bring me coffee when they come on home leave from Kenya. Tourism was one of two tribes. One the famous safaris and second beaches. Safari normally means a trip to the jungle, which are also called parks, to see the wild animals in their natural habitat. However, the word became so common that it was used for even ordinary travels. Once a customer came after a few days to the bank. I asked him why he was not seen for many days. He said he was on a safari. I asked him which park he went. He said he had gone to London. Some of the most famous parks were Masai Mara, Amboseli, Nairobi National Park, treetops, etc. I will write about them in due course. Kenya was also blessed with a coastline. Many neighboring countries were landlocked and had to depend upon Kenya. Mombasa was the port city. Many beach resorts were set up on the coast. Europeans fond of sunshine and found coming to Kenya very cheap. Indian origin people had played a good role in developing the country. Gujaratis mainly and Punjabis, great Sardars, moved to East Africa when the railway lines were built at the beginning of the 20th century. Thereafter, they entered into business mainly on the retail side. Later on, Thais also started industries, hospitality business, etc. Even among Gujaratis, Sai and Patels were prominent. Chandariyas were one such family who entered into manufacturing mainly in steel and aluminium. When I landed in Kenya, they had presence in 26 countries. They were all over Africa and had many units in Nigeria. Mehta Group were in sugar, Medwanis were another well-known group. The Gujarati community used to support each other. Besides, there were quite a few joint ventures. Birilaj, Sarabhaj, and Singhmaniyas were there in a big way. I may have omitted a few names, so I'll try to mention when occasions arises. From the shop, even though Benegal gave me an open offer of taking me for shopping whenever I wanted, I found it a bit delicate to ask for favor every now and then. As the climate was very pleasant, we decided to walk and shop. The nearest shopping area of Westlands was about 20 minutes walk. We would go there on a Sunday morning and carry bags of goodies. Once we decided to go the Nagara market, which are about 2 km away. This market had a very good vegetable section. There used to be different types of potatoes, one for chips, another for curry, etc. They also used to come in different sizes. Nagara market also had a main street where Indian style grocery shops, clothes shops, and sweet shops owned by Gujaratis were there. We used to buy everything and walk back with one full loaf of bread. By the time we reached home, we would have finished the bread. It used to be so tasty and fresh that there was no need for jam or butter. Coffee time. There was a stationery room adjacent to the advances department. The entry was through advances department. Around 10 a.m., all expertise except the CE used to meet at the stationery room. There was no canteen inside the bank, no coffee. tea boy like India to bring coffee to your table. I think they now have a canteen. And anyway, we all used to enjoy these 15 minutes. Senegal and I found one peculiar problem. Maniyar and Mujumdar used to switch over to Gujarati and we used to wonder what they were talking about. Saigal used to be generally a silent participant unless the discussion was about cricket. One day Benegal and I decided on a strategy. Both of us started talking in Tamil during the coffee session. Immediately Maniyar asked us, "Hey, what are you talking?" We told him that was that we are wondering every day when they spoke in Gujarati. Benegala used to bring coffee in class. Others used to bring tea. My problem was that I was used to having coffee at about 2:30 p.m. after lunch. The flask which was filled at 8 a.m. would not retain the heat till 2 p.m. I used to have a lukewarm coffee. No coffee meeting in the afternoon. I found a way out on some of the days. Miss Monica, secretary to the chief executive, used to prepare excellent tea for the boss in the morning and serve at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Whoever was in the siege room would also be served with tea. I used to carry the papers for discussions with C around 2:50 p.m. I used to give a meaningful look at Miss Monica. So sharp at 3 p.m. she would enter with 2 cups of hot tea. A regular visitor to our coffee session in the morning was Dr. Harshad Patel. Dr. Patel was a surgeon. He was a contemporary of Stanley Jones of Christian Mission Hospital, Hillero, a well-known heart surgeon. Dr. Patel's consultancy office was walking distance from the bank. He would come every morning to do his banking and would walk into our coffee room. He knew he could get the latest news or gossip about India. Sometimes he would come up before us and would hurry us to come to the coffee room. Then, with equal haste, he would open one of the flasks and spill some coffee on the floor while pouring into the cup. I once asked Munir how this person, who appeared a little clumsy, would do surgery. Munir told me that he was a different person as a surgeon, a great surgeon. In fact, when he does the surgery, he would be so meticulous and perfect that even the scar would not be visible. He was also a great host and would call all the officers home for a dinner every now and then. I was glad to meet him again during my visit to Kenya at GM International, an unforgettable character. Starting at of Kenya operations, within 25 4 hours of your reporting, one customer would call on you. That was Mr. Rajni Bhai or Maganlal stores. He would inform you that the Bank of India started its operations in Nairobi from his shop, hinting that he was a special customer. Maganlal stores was an old Gujarati shop. He had a brother, Ramanik Bhai. While Rajni was a dashing go-getter, Ramanik Bhai was mild-mannered but used to manage the bank matters very well. No newspaper. One thing I missed very much was the Indian newspapers. Please remember that in those days there are no internet connections, no link to TV channels in India. Kenya papers would rarely publish news about India. One copy of Times of India was subscribed by Bank of India, which would come on the days of flights from India. The state would go to the chief executive, and after a couple of days, he may send it to the accountant. By the time he could have a look, the news would have become very stale. I was again addicted to the Hindu. I found a way out. I learned that the Indian High Commission used to get the Hindu. On every Wednesday, they would put up the papers at the past 1 week on a big newspaper stand. You have to stand and read the papers. So every Wednesday, I used to skip my window shopping, literally run to the High Commission, which was about 20 minutes walk from our branch. I could stand and finish reading the papers. I used to pray that no one else would be there before me. I would return by about 2:30. Frankly, on Wednesday, I used to take extra lunch time of about 15-30 minutes. Now about the Indian magazine shop. It was owned by a Gujarati. He was physically disabled, very frail and could not walk. I had seen the Kenyan assistant carrying him to his seat from the car, but he had a good business acumen. I was an avid reader of a Tamil weekly, Kumudam, in those days. Every week during lunchtime, I'd go and collect it. Once he told me that he could get me any magazine. I told him to get me a literary magazine called Kalaimagal. He told me to write the name in a piece of paper. Believe it or not, from next month onwards till I left Nairobi, I could get that magazine. Only one copy was sent from India. He was also a great cricket fan. In those days, there used to be only radio commentary during latest matches. We could never get an Indian station on our radios. This man used to have a big radio and he used to attach some wires and used to get the live commentary. We used to stand there and listen during lunchtime. If India wins, he would distribute sweets. During the match, if anyone disturbs him, he would get wild. We should deal only with the servant. Hats off to his entrepreneurship. Still peace. Post office without a postman. Kenya had an excellent postal service, but there was no door delivery of letters. No postman. Perhaps one of the reasons was that the houses did not have numbers. Even to visit someone, you have to go by various landmarks. Each one should take a post box on rent to the post office and collect the letters. We used to give the bank's post box as our address. Every afternoon, when our service staff brought the mail from the post office, we used to look for mail from India like college boys in the hostel. If my memory is right, Post Office Savings Bank used to function independently like a bank. The postal department used to put beautiful stamps. I used to collect every new stamp and send letters to friends and relatives. The chapter Kenyan Safari will continue. Thank you very much for your patience. Request for like, subscribe, and share.